So I ran into a little snag. And for anything I'm about to tell you to make sense, I think it's best that we go back to the beginning. I have been making my Gold Ranger armor. I wanted it to be legit. So I started looking into the Morphin Grid and how it works. And I have a theory. And in order for what I'm about to tell you to make sense, I need to explain that theory. The Morphin Grid is basically another plane of existence, something that we cannot access physically because it's nothing but a plane of energy. When a ranger morphs, they use a conduit. Take Mighty Morphin, for example. They have their power morpher. The power coin is what gives them access to the Morphin Grid. That power morpher is what establishes that connection, is what I'm trying to say. And if you look across the series, the same is true. Dino Thunder, Dino Gems, access to Morphin Grid. The morphers on their wrist is what connects it. What's another example? Turbo, the turbo morphers. The key is what gives them access to the Morphin Grid. The morpher on their wrist is what connects them. So on and so forth. There are a few exceptions to that logic. Number one being Catmink's SPD. There is no access. The SPD morpher directly connects them. Same goes for Time Force. And if my theory is correct, Time Force is a future iteration of SPD, which makes sense considering the Chronomorphers does not have any type of access key that connects the Rangers to the Morphin Grid. What I'm trying to say is that that's how the Rangers are able to connect to the Morphin Grid. The Morphin Grid, take for example, this hex color code, this hex grid here. Think of it like that. Depending on the iteration of the Ranger and the color designation, whenever a Ranger morphs, coordinates are established that connects to the grid. So let's say if you're blue, you go here. If you're red, you might go here. If you're yellow, you might go here. But let's say you are a Zeo red and you go here, a Dino Thunder red would probably be in the same area, just at a different location, okay? So consider this. Trent, when his Dino Gem was cloned and he had a evil clone of his White Ranger form, both of those Rangers were not able to exist in the same plane of existence because they were accessing the same point in the Morphin Grid at the same time, which is why one of them had to go. And if you look back over all of the Ranger lore, that stands true, okay? Now, going into some of the comic book stuff, the Ranger lore there, when the emissaries became the emissaries, they were just normal people. These people access the Morphin Grid directly. So if you ever see them in the comic books, they're actually switching between Ranger forms all the time because they're constantly accessing different points of the grid at all points. They exist within the grid themselves, which is why they're able to do that. I know I'm ranting on a lot, and I know there's a lot that you guys are trying to grasp on, but I'm trying to convey. This is my own personal log, and I'm trying to just show you guys what is going on here. So, in the case of my Gold Ranger armor, I finished the helmet. The suit is done, but I might have accidentally, for lack of better terms, transmuted it into the grid. Now, I can't get it out properly. Every time I try to use my staff, it just doesn't come out all the way. I got a half shield, half helmet, sometimes no leg armor, and it becomes a hassle. So, when you access the grid with this staff, the coordinates that it's picking up is about here somewhere. The problem is that Trey of Triforia and the Gold Ranger powers are not like the Zeo Ranger powers. The Zeo Ranger powers are contained within each subcrystal of the Zeo crystal. If you look on the Zeonizers, those Zeonizers, they have a miniaturized version of those subcrystals in there. This is why they're removable and they can use it to access the source. So when the Rangers morph, those Zeo subcrystals that are compartmentalized into the morpher cause out those certain coordinates in the Morphin Grid. And because the Zeo Ranger powers are so immense, those Zeonizers actually act as sort of a buffer, if you will, that brings everything that they need out of the Morphin Grid and transmutes it accordingly. Gold Ranger does not have that. The Gold Ranger accesses the Morphin Grid with the Power Staff. Without the Power Staff, there is nothing else. So we don't know where the Gold Ranger powers came from. We don't know how they even came to be because there is no sixth subcrystal. When Trey of Triforia split into his 3 parts, he could not access the Morphin Grid because, again, you cannot access the Morphin Grid at the same point at the same time. That divided by 3, which is why he gave the powers to Jason. And Jason, because the powers were so powerful, could not sustain those powers for very long, unfortunately. So, here's my problem. The reason why my armor is not summoning properly is because the armor, first of all, is an upgrade armor, which makes it more powerful than the original. Secondly, there's no way for me to actually create some sort of buffer, if you will, because there's no Zeo subcrystal. There's no way for me to do that. So, yeah. Yeah. That'll work. That'll work. Okay, hear me out. Regular people, Mrs. Fairweather, Dr. K, Cat Minx, all these guys were able to access the Morphin Grid at some point. Whether it be for a few seconds, artificially, whatever. Shit, Mrs. Fairweather created the titanium powers. That wasn't a thing, but she did it, right? Artificial. What if there's a way to create an artificial subcrystal for the Gold Ranger powers and pop that monkey into my Zeonizers? Now that could act as a buffer. This could act as a buffer in conjunction with the Gold Power Staff. This could act as sort of like a containment field that will isolate all of the power and bring it out. Yeah, no, I think that'll work. I mean, Nikola Tesla did it. He had the theory of free energy all around us. Syndrome from The Incredibles, 0-point energy, same concept.
You sly dog! You got me monologuing! I can't believe it! It's cool, huh? 0-point energy. Yeah, I save the best inventions for myself. Am I good enough now?
Yeah. I think this will work. If I can create an artificial subcrystal for the Gold Ranger powers and isolate it on the coordinates inside of the Morphin Grid, whenever the Gold Ranger staff connects, it'll go through this buffer and will give me my armor, hopefully as a whole. Or I blow up and cease to exist. There we go. Stay tuned. I'm going to give you guys an update.